A toxic relationship, a codependent relationship, an unhappy relationship can all lead to this with work. Nothing and no one is not healable, just so you know. My name is Amber, and I can create reality, and I have created a different reality than what a lot of people say online. This is dedicated to my wife. I didn't write it, Steve De'lano Garcia did. All right, let's go. To love an independent woman, you love her by seeing the vastness in her and refusing to fence it in. You stand beside the field of her life and recognize that it existed before you and will bloom whether or not you are there. And that is a part of its beauty. You feel the ache and wonder of loving someone who can hold her own weight. And instead of feeling unnecessary, you become grateful to be chosen by a soul that does not need to be saved. You decide to be a witness, a partner, a steady lighthouse on her personal shoreline, and you begin by saying simple truths that do not try to claim her. I see you. I honor you. I am here. Respecting her boundaries is not a trick you use to get closer. It is the language you speak to prove you deserve to be near. You study where her yes lives and where her no guards the door, and you treat both as sacred. You do not argue with the gate or take it personally when it closes. You trust that a gate is how a garden stays alive. When she draws a line, you place your hand over your own heart and promise to keep that line safe, even in the moments where your longing wants to cross it. Over time, she finds that your restraint is not coldness, but care, that your patience is not distance, but devotion. Her strength is a storm and a shelter, a flame and a hearth. You do not call it intimidating as a way of excusing your own shrinking. You choose to grow big enough to stand beside it without casting shade. You watch the way she lifts her own world, and you do not climb onto her shoulders. You learn to carry your share so that her power can rest when it needs to. You praise her without turning her into a pedestal she cannot step down from. You let her be fierce and you let her be tired, and you make both equally safe. Trust is earned in the small rooms where no one claps. It is made in quiet mornings where you keep the plan you made on a louder night. It is made in the messages you do not answer and the confessions you do not withhold. It is made in the way your eyes soften when she says something hard, and in the way your hands do not reach for her before your mouth asks if they may. She watches you when you think you are not being watched, and you live in such a way that being seen is not a danger, but a relief. Independence is not a wall to break. It is a door to knock on and a home to be invited into. You learn her rituals of solitude and you cherish them because they are practices that keep her whole. You do not mistake her quiet for distance or her silence for anger. You learn the seasons of her and you do not demand summer when she is wintering. When she chooses to share her space, you step inside like a guest who intends to become family, gentle with the furniture, attentive to the history, grateful for the trust. The past that sharpened her edges is not your opponent. It is the teacher that gave her a language for safety. You ask it without insisting on a tour of every scar. You honor the story without trying to edit it. When old fear knocks in the middle of your brightest day, you do not scold it for being late. You make tea for the trembling and stay until the cup stops rattling in her hands. In doing so, you prove that love can be a present tense brave enough to sit with every tense that came before. Apology becomes a craft, not a performance. You do not throw words at the wound and call it healing. You change your tone when your tone has been a blade. You adjust habits where they have been careless. You practice repair the way a musician practices scales, not for applause, but for competence, so that when the inevitable dissonance arrives, your hands already know how to find harmony again. Pride learns to kneel in the temple of closeness. You stop keeping score because scorekeeping is a lonely bedmate. You let her correct you without feeling erased, and you offer your perspective without trying to overwrite hers. You learn the miracle that intimacy is not a debate to win, but a place where both of you get to be right about your own hearts and still meet in the middle. The everyday becomes the proving ground. Reliability turns into romance. The ride you promised, the dinner you planned, the bill you paid on time, the plant you watered without being asked, the way you remembered how she likes the water on the strawberries so they do not bruise. Small things stop being small because they are the bricks that make a home. And a home for her must be a place where she can set down her armor without checking the door every 5 minutes. Admiration is generous, not possessive. You do not praise her to claim her. You praise her to free her from the suspicion that she must choose between love and her fullest self. You speak well of her when she is not in the room, not to prove your goodness, but to protect her in absentia. Your private words match your public words so closely that she could step into your conversations like a person walking into a warm light. When she steps into her ambition, you do not become the weight tied to her ankle. You become the hand that steadies the ladder, the voice that says, I believe you can, the presence that loves her even when she fails, especially when she fails. Because failure is evidence of courage, and you are committed to loving her courage more than her medals. You celebrate the win not as a reason to take credit, but as a chance to clap until your palms sting. Desire grows up, it learns reverence. Your touch becomes a question that expects an answer, and your patience becomes the proof that the answer is hers to give. You learn to see holiness in the curve of her shoulder and the quiet of her forehead, to kiss in a way that says, I'm not trying to conquer a country, I am kneeling in a cathedral. You discover that the most beautiful form of wanting is the kind that can wait without turning tenderness into pressure. You tend to your own life so she does not have to be your oxygen mask every time the plane shakes. You keep promises to yourself. You pursue your own purpose. You earn your own rest. By becoming a self sustaining person, you turn the relationship into a place of exchange rather than extraction. She learns that loving you does not cost her the parts of herself she worked too hard to win. Conflict becomes a practice of staying human. You learn to argue without leaving the room in anger or staying in the room to punish. You let the heat out of your voice before it sets the house on fire. You choose timeouts that are agreements, not disappearances. You return when you said you would return, with softer sentences and a willingness to be changed by what you hear. Jealousy stops being a script and becomes a signal. Instead of accusing, you admit that something inside of you is afraid, and you ask for reassurance without demanding that she shrink her world to soothe you. In return, you reassure her, not with chains, but with choices you make when no one is looking. Fidelity becomes the quiet decision you keep making, the one that allows her to sleep through the night without waking to check if the door is still locked. Grief finds a chair at your table because life will hand you both losses you did not order. When her voice breaks, you do not rush to fix the sound. You hold the breaking until it slows. You learn what comfort actually looks like for her. Sometimes words, sometimes soup, sometimes a hand on the back and your presence like a blanket over a shaking body. You let her see you cry so she never has to feel like the only person made of water. Time becomes your favorite love letter. You do not hoard it or dole it out for good behavior. You make plans that include her and plans that release her, and both feel like respect. You understand that independence does not mean alone forever, and together does not mean together always. You let longing be a bridge instead of a punishment, and distance become proof that the bond breathes even when you are not in the same room. Earning trust is not a finish line you cross once. It is a road you walk daily with clean shoes. You sweep your side of the street. You notice when you tracked mud in, and you mop without being asked. You learn her triggers like landmarks on a map, and you drive that map with care, not fear, so she can relax into the passenger seat and look out the window without bracing. The future that you speak about is spacious. You do not write her name in wet concrete and call it love. You sketch possibilities in pencil and hand her the eraser and the pen. You invite her to redraw the map when the terrain changes, and you take joy in the revisions because it means the story is alive. Your promises are sturdy, not because they cannot change, but because they can adapt and still hold. In the end, loving an independent woman becomes a vow you renew in 100 unphotographed moments to respect what protects her, to embrace what empowers her, and to earn what opens her. It is a devotion that does not clip wings to feel tall, a tenderness that does not confuse closeness with control. It is the quiet courage to say, day after day, I will not make you feel smaller so I can feel bigger. I will grow with you. I will stand with you. And when the night lays its dark hand on the window and the world asks what love is, you will lay your palm over the steadfast drum of her heart and answer with a life that proves it. Steve De'lano Garcia. And I would I never thought I would get to say this, but that is our life today. That is just such a beautiful writing of exactly how we are with each other. We are both independent. We are both strong on our own, and we are a powerhouse together. And it's just going to get better. So if you're in a tough relationship, if you have been through horrible things and done horrible things to each other, but you're still sticking around, I invite you to consider taking time for yourself so you can create this beautiful love, this beautiful life. And even if it doesn't work out in your current relationship, you healing yourself will attract that beautiful love because we teach people how to love us based on how we love ourselves. And when my wife and I didn't love ourselves, we certainly didn't know how to love each other. But oh, we do today. We do today, and we are happy today. So I'm here to tell you anything and everything is possible. Let love win by learning to love yourself. So if you like this video, please like it. Please share it. If you know somebody who is struggling with love, struggling with relationships, struggling with pain. Because love, it can be hard, but it can also be bliss. It can be bliss. So if you got this far, thank you so much for watching. I am so grateful. I feel like this whole thing was self-care. I am still sticking to my self-care day. My wife actually came home in the middle of me reading that, and I was like, "You need to go away." I said, "I'm actually doing a video dedicated to you." And she's like, "I'm sorry." She's like, "This is Tuesday's my early day." And I was just like, well, I wasn't paying attention to the time, apparently. But I was like, "You need to go into the bedroom and put some headphones on." She's like, "I love you." Okay. That's my life today. And it can be yours too. So thank you. Thank you for watching. I send you energy for love, for healing, for acceptance of yourself, because that's where it all begins. Everything that you're going through, it's okay. It's going to teach you something. So thank you. I hope you have a great day, a great week, a great weekend when it arrives. And I love you. I will see you next time. Take care.